Welcome back to Nottingham and the Outlaw Triathlon. 5 a.m. at Holme-Pierpont, the National Water Sports Centre, and the competitors were beginning their preparations for the start of the race. Every single one of them looking to cross that finish line at the end of the day to earn the right to be called an outlaw. So that's what lies ahead for our intrepid outlaws. But before we get the race underway, let's hear once again from race director and former professional triathlete Ian Hamilton.
The first event I ever did was here at the National Water Sports Centre when I was 15 years old. Just loved it. From that day, got bitten by the bug. 25 years later, roles have reversed slightly. I'm now organising rather than competing the events. But in that time, I had a few years racing as a pro. Literally toured the world and managed to pick up a couple of decent World Championship medals as well.
Rushcliffe is a fairly wide-ranging area, so it's got the centre based in West Bridgford and then quite a lot of surrounding countryside. So it's an excellent area in terms of training for us. Lots of off-road routes for running, quiet roads for cycling. Places like Holme-Pierpont, Rushcliffe Country Park, Copgrave Country Park are all excellent venues that we use quite a lot.
We're honoured to host the triathlon event here in Rushcliffe. It fits the theme of what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people healthy, and we can do nothing more than encourage it. And I look forward to seeing some more of these events.
We want to be involved in as many Ironman distance races as possible, and what's great about this is that it isn't an official Ironman. It's more accessible, so you're getting maybe a different type of athlete here, somebody who maybe isn't going around the world racing every Ironman that there is, but actually they're coming here to test their body and to enjoy it, and that's the most important thing, because you see a lot of people with smiles on their faces.
Back to Holme-Pierpont, it's 5:55 a.m. The 6 a.m. start time for the Outlaw Triathlon is fast approaching, and if you've never seen an Ironman race before, here's a few basics you really need to know. Those of a nervous disposition, please look away from your screens now. It all starts with a 2.4 mile swim. Sounds okay? Well, think about it. It's open water at the mercy of the elements and with no lines on the bottom of a pool to guide you. The elite athletes will be out of the water in less than just 50 minutes. Then the test continues through transition 1, or T1 as the athletes call it, and onto the bike. The faster the better. No time to dry off and out onto the road for 112 miles in the saddle. The elite athletes coming in at around the 5-hour mark, making it between 6 to 7 hours in total so far. Then it's off the bike and into T2. The only change of kit is to slip your feet into your running shoes. And away you go. And this is where it gets really brutal for a full marathon of 26.2 miles. Our leading outlaws will be looking to complete the whole course in under 9.5 hours for the men and 10.5 hours for the women. Just like that, in fact. Right then, it's back to reality now, and the first ever outlaw triathlon here at Holme-Pierpont in Rushcliffe, Nottingham. Former Olympic swimmer Gail Willis is our starter.
2, 1.
Glorious conditions for the start of this first ever outlaw triathlon here at Holme-Pierpont in Nottingham. And as ever, that sight of the athletes moving away from the shore to start the swim off, always one of the most impressive in sport. 2 years of hard work and preparation for the team behind this event, but looking out onto the lake now, it must seem all worthwhile with such an impressive sight. The swimmers now settling down into a rhythm. 2.4 miles may not sound a lot, but I can assure you it really is. And as all the triathletes will tell you, you can't win the race in the swim, but you can certainly get a handy lead going into T1. Classed as an open water swim, this course may look straight, but it's tough to stay on line. The competitors will head out from the start area straight up the regatta lake, guided by various brightly coloured buoys on the way, turning at the top marker and heading back for home. Other athletes, drift and wind, just a few of the factors the swimmers will need to cope with during this swim. Well, plenty of spectators on the bank and a few interested ones in the lake alongside the swimmers, keeping up a good pace. And we're starting to see some of the leaders now moving away from the rest of the field and taking this group along at a pace. It's Ian Panting, clearly a strong swimmer, Ian, at the moment dictating what happens out there on the lake. And also in amongst that lead group, very strong swim from Joanna Swallow, who comes from a real triathlon family. Sister Jodie may be familiar to a few of you, a winner at the world level. And Ian Panting looking absolutely superb at the moment. And I think a few of these other competitors are going to have to be a little bit careful about going with him and trying to stay with him. Very important to set your own pace when it comes to these Ironman and half Ironman distances. And you can see how tasty it gets out there, especially coming to the boys. There's usually a bit of argy-bargy. Conditions, though, just couldn't be better. The swim well and truly underway, and having mentioned one world-class triathlete in Jodie Swallow, it's time to hear from another one, a former world-class triathlete in Ian Hamilton, as Ian Panting just flies away from the rest of this field.
We want to inspire people. It would be fantastic if people that are watching the event tomorrow, if they end up, not necessarily taking part in this event, but taking part in another one of our triathlons that we organise locally. That'd be great. We'd love that to happen.
It's a fantastic sport. It's a growing sport. It's very much a lifestyle sport. But I think the beauty of it is there's a really great range of different races and distances that you can do. So races range from short sprint races or even super sprint races that'll take maybe 30 minutes, right up to Ironman, which is going to take some of the less elite competitors probably up to 15-16 hours. And so it's a huge range of different types of events. And as an athlete, you can progress through those events and set your own goals. Equally, on any given day, you can race against world champions in the same course on the same race and not feel particularly out of place doing so.
I admire the spirit at which it's done. They are really super athletes because it's 3 different disciplines mixed up into one race. And if you're a good runner, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a good swimmer or a good cyclist. And they have to hone their skills in a different way to what normal athletes do.
Well, honing his skills in the lake pretty well is Ian Panting. Gone a bit offline there. Just shows you how tough it is to stay right on this course. And that's one of the nuances of open water swimming. It's not a pool with a line at the bottom. You've got to keep looking up to see where you're going. Team High Five in there doing pretty well in the team event, so clearly some strong swimmers there. That's a relay event, the team event, and we'll bring you up to date as that progresses. And out comes Ian Panting with a decent lead out of the water and into T1. Off come the wetsuits, off come the hats and the goggles, and on go the cycling lycra. Brilliant performance from Joanna Swallow. She's right up there with the leaders in the men's race and giving quite a few of the team swimmers a run for their money as well. Now, this is how the relay works. You hand over your timing band, transfers from one ankle to another, and the next member of your team takes over. And High Five looking very good indeed. Much easier for the teams through transition. They don't have to change kit, they can just hand over that band. So we should see the teams moving through those T1 and T2 areas a little faster. Those bikes were all put in position late last night. All the technical checks done. Another team athlete coming out in contention, being helped by one of those 300 volunteers at this event. Now, the athletes started arriving at around about 5 o'clock this morning, and the crowd started building from that point onwards as well. Ian Panting then puts on the cycle helmet, has a quick word with the camera operator on the back of the motorbike, who's going to follow him out of T1 as the leader of the men's race. And he looks pretty sprightly. Well, he's certainly a good swimmer. We're going to find out whether he's decent on the bike any minute now. He's certainly going to have some competition because Paul Hawkins is out of the water now. And, Ross Spencer, David Hill, and there's our leader in the women's race, Joanna Swallow, having to go right outside that transition area before she mounts the bike. A little bit like Formula One there with a pit stop. The High Five team still flying, and at the moment leading the team race, and obviously out front as well, ahead of all the bikes going down the first lap around the perimeter of the lake. Chance just to get your head and your body straight after the swim. Does feel very strange coming out of the water and onto the bike. There's Paul Hawkins with that very distinctive tattoo on his right shoulder. Look out for that during the course of this race. That'll be an easy identification point. Team Finley onto the bikes and in pursuit of Team High Five. So that competition starting to hot up. Joanna Swallow away and clear for the women at the moment, and she's really trying to build a lead now. She looks very confident on the bike, and it looks like she's going to attack early on, having built that decent lead coming out of the water. Nobody able to live with her there, and Paul Hawkins already starting to overhaul those in front of him. Hawkins very accomplished on the bike, a good runner as well, and this is his chance now to make up some real ground on the rest of this field. Confirmation then that it was Ian Panting that came out of the water first, Dan Phillips and Michael White following him shortly afterwards. But as you can see, even with that lead, it's going to be overhauled pretty quickly. Joanna Swallow, though, with a fantastic lead, 4 minutes or so over Viv Clement and Sarah Borley. The team event looking interesting, though. It's High Five ahead of Team Finley, and then the local tri-club, TFN Block, the all-woman team, in third place at the moment. More to come after the break.